Good morning. I'm Matthew. We're the Scoops. We've got a pretty busy day ahead of us today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing, actually. That's been a huge help to growing our channel lately. As a matter of fact, there's been almost a little bit of a growth explosion that has happened recently. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. So a lot of what we're going to do today, I actually wanted to get going yesterday, but time got away from us. We ended up starting off the day by actually going to the farmer's market out here and saw some pretty good stuff. It was a little bit of a smaller turnout than usual, not quite as many vendors, but again, it's also early in the year, so a lot of the gardening side of things and whatnot is just kind of getting started. Now, one thing I did actually come across that I'm going to have to try to re-engineer because it was so good, was pickled pineapple. If you've ever heard of it or ever tried it, leave a comment down below. I'm kind of curious. I had never even heard of it. And when I first saw it, my first thought was, ew, pickled pineapple? It was amazing. So we bought a little jar of that. It was a little more than what I would generally like to pay for something, but it was quite tasty. So after the farmer's market, we realized there were still some things that we actually needed to get in order for us to fill some new bags. Everything from bottom filler, so I use straw hay for a lot of my bottom filling and mulching. I actually do have a lot of tree trimmings that I still have left to cut down as far as like into smaller pieces. I'm also going to be using that to help kind of fill the bottom of the bags as well. The main reason we do that is just to kind of save on soil. So I had to get that. And then of course, we did a little bit of extra running around and things of that nature, and time just got away from us. So unfortunately, we didn't get near as much done yesterday as we wanted to, which makes today a little bit more busy. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be doing first here is I've got tomato starts that I want to get in the ground. There's 30 of them. And so the idea, a lot of the bags that I use are these 30-gallon bags. And with the 30-gallon bags, our experience so far is you can put multiple plants into one 30-gallon bag. That is a lot of soil. But when it comes to the tomatoes, anything more than two seems to kind of get a little crowded, and it doesn't seem like it's enough space. Two seems to work perfectly. One, a 30-gallon bag is just too much for that. So what we're going to do, put together 30-gallon bags. We're going to put 2 tomato plants per bag, which means I need 15 of these bags. I don't know if I have enough soil on hand to mix together, because we mix our own stuff. I don't know if I have enough for 15 bags. I think we'll be close. If not, I may be finishing up tomorrow after I'm able to pick up some more stuff for soil. So let's get to it. Now, most of you have probably seen us mixing soil and things of that nature. I try to keep it pretty simple. I have a gardening soil mix, it's just garden soil that we pick up from one of the local box stores. It comes in 3 cubic foot bags. I also pick up peat moss, which is also a 3 cubic foot bag, and the mixture with that is a 1-to-1, so it's an equal parts mixture. And then I also use a composted manure that I put into it. That generally comes in a 1.5 cubic foot bag, and normally I use 1 bag of that as well. So it's 1 bag of the composted manure, 1 bag of the garden soil, 1 bag of the peat moss. Now, peat moss is also a bit on the acidic side. So to lower the acidity, I also use a bit of lime as well. I don't generally measure that out too much, probably at least a good, I would say at least a couple of cups worth per mixture. And as I need, I can either add more, or they do actually have what's called an acidifier that you use, especially if you're doing certain types of berries and things of that nature, to raise that back up. I generally add just a little bit, though, of the lime just because it just seems to work well for me. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to get set up here. I usually just pull out a tarp on my patio. That way I don't make a giant mess over here. It makes for a nice flat spot to mix everything together. And let's get to it. All right, so turns out I miscalculated how much peat moss I had. I actually thought I had 5 bags. Turns out I only have 3 in a parcel. So I'm gonna have to get some more later this evening. Everybody else is out at the moment, so I don't have a vehicle here. So I'm gonna mix what I can. I'll get at least 3 full mixtures using my 1-to-1 ratio here. Each mixture, so 1 bag of peat moss, 1 bag of the garden soil, and 1 bag of the manure, makes about usually like 3 to 4 bags. So even with that, I should be able to get at least 12 of the bags put together. So I'll be close to having what I need just for the tomatoes. I may have to finish this all up tomorrow after work. We'll see what happens. So let's get to mixing. And again, bags I use are still the Vivosun grow bags. These are 30 gallons that I'm about to fill up now. Link in the description below. You'll find the Amazon affiliate links. Once again, I'm not affiliated with them. I'm not partnered with them. These just still happen to be the bags that I use. I'm sure there are less expensive ones out here, but I've got bags that are in this garden right now that I've been using about the beginning of 2022, maybe the end of 2021. So at minimum, these have been out here for a year, and I'm still using them. So that's why I continue to use them. They seem to be a good quality, and they continue to work for me. So anyway, let's get to filling the bags. All right, so I'm not too worried about this being too much hay in there because the weight of the soil and of course, watering it and everything else, it will compact the hay. On top of that, over time, the hay will break down beneath the soil, actually composting. And so that's why after each season, I end up having to actually kind of top off the bags. Part of it's because all of this becomes compressed. All right, taking a quick little break here. So pretty much I was able to fill 6 bags. Now keep in mind, it wasn't a full 1-to-1 ratio because of the peat moss. Had I actually had that extra bag of peat moss, it would have been closer to a full 6 bags. This next mixture, of course, a few of the scoops I'll use to top these off. And I'll just keep going. Right now, I think I should be able to get a full 12 bags. Again, still not enough to do what I'm wanting to do with the tomatoes,
but it'll be close enough. And I'm actually going to be planting them a little closer together than what's recommended anyway. So for both the Roma tomatoes and the beefsteak tomatoes, the recommended spacing is actually 3 to 4 feet. So you're talking, 36 to 48 inches. Well, I'm not going to get that kind of spacing out of these bags, but I think I'll still be okay. They'll be a little close to each other, but I think I'll be okay. The better thing to do, I think, would have been to actually get together 5-gallon bags, or even 2-gallon bags, maybe, just for proper spacing. But I'm not too terribly worried about it. I think they'll be spaced out enough to where I don't have to worry too much about them crowding together. I should be able to, I'll probably still have at least a good foot in between each plant. There'll be some intertwining for sure, but I think that's going to be just fine. And then I got to figure out what trellis actually to put these on. I'm obviously going to be, well, yeah, I gotta look at where I'm going to be putting these, because I have peas that I've got on one. I've got blackberries and raspberries, but I can actually move those. I think I'll move the blackberries and raspberries up to the front. That'll give me access to a full trellis, which I'll be able to get at least 10 bags on, because what I'll do is, instead of what I usually do is on the trellises is what I've been doing anyway, is just one roll of bags per trellis. What I want to do with this, I'm actually going to go back to what I did originally, and that was have a row of bags on each side. Now again, with the tomatoes, that does pose issues with a little bit of crowding. Might have some issues involving airflow, but we'll deal with that as we need to. I think with proper pruning and such, I still think they'll be just fine. My biggest concern is actually going to be proper sunlight, because of the direction that the sun hits our property here, or the rental property that we have here. There is a potential that one side is going to get more sun than the other, because it's going to block out the sun from that other side. That might be an issue. We'll see what happens with that. I think we'll still be okay. If you have anyone that's able or willing to help you move these things, be sure to get them. They get heavy. Now to move the other ones. So that deserves another break and another bottle of water. So the wind's kicking up just a little bit here, blowing stuff all over the place, so that's fun. Now I keep saying that I don't have enough to make bags for all the tomatoes, and that is true. I'll be able to most likely get 12, and I need 15. That being said, that means I don't have enough to make fresh bags, and I was hoping to, because I had some other stuff I wanted to kind of move around. I do have a few bags though that are not being used. I have at least 2 right off the bat that are not being used, and one that technically I guess you could say isn't being used because my basil died on me. So I had that large basil plant and it got neglected. I wasn't pruning it properly. The plant itself became real barky, I guess you could say. Like it literally developed a bark. It's still there. I'll show you in just a moment. So I pruned it back real heavily, and then also bought a start to plant just in case that one died. And at first they were both doing really well, so I thought that I was actually going to have basil in abundance. And then a couple weeks ago, about a week ago actually, we had what I think was our final cold snap, and it was just enough to kill them off, both of them. Because the one I pruned back actually started getting new growth coming in on it. So had we not gotten that last cold snap, I think that one would have actually survived, which would have been awesome, because that tells me that in the event my basil does that again and develops bark and becomes, real woody in the plant side of things, that if necessary, I could prune it back to like its very first spots where it starts to white off and potentially get new growth off of that. But again, like I said, unfortunately, we had that last minute cold snap, killed everything off. So I have that bag that I can use. So I think technically I have 15 bags, meaning I can transplant all of my tomatoes. The other thing, and this is why I brought up the basil, not just because of the bag, but I need to plant new basil. Well, companion planting is, of course, a thing, and it's something that I've not done. Two plants that seem to just go amazing together when companion planting is basil and tomato. So I think what I'm going to do, instead of buying another start, I have basil seeds. So I'm going to start some, and when they're ready to transplant, I will transplant them into the bags with the tomato plants, and I will grow tomatoes and basil together. I'm just going to do it in like maybe 1 or 2 bags. I'm not going to go crazy with it. Just 1 or 2 bags and see how that works. All right. Well, I think that's enough of a break. I've cut my breath again. My arms don't feel as spaghetti-like. So let's get some more bags put together. Now, one thing to keep in mind is doing all this is actually time consuming. I've been out here mixing soil and filling bags for 3 hours now. I've got 6 bags that are filled. I've got enough soil for 3 more bags right now, so 9 bags total, with 3 of them not even filled yet. It's time consuming. So always try to keep that in mind as far as trying to plan out your day, deciding, okay, I'm gonna put some bags together, pots together. Just keep in mind just how long that might take you. The time can kind of get away from you. And for those who might be wondering, I've had a few messages here and there. My little garden helper out here, that's Edgar. Say hi, Edgar. Whether gardening or pulling weeds, mind you, he actually goes through and pulls some of them for us. He's always out here helping us in his own way, even though his nickname is Underfoot, because he always ends up underfoot. All right, back to filling the bags. All right, let's get these suckers moved, and I have enough to mix up another at least 3 to 4 bags. This will make 10, so I should have somewhere between 13 to 14 bags. I'm actually getting a lot more out of this than I actually thought I would, by at least a good couple of bags. That's a pleasant surprise. I have been miscounting and miscalculating all day. So I started off thinking that I had 15 30-gallon bags and only enough soil to fill 12. So I've got 10 that I'd already done. This last bit made 4.
So I have 14 bags, not 15. I've got enough soil that I've filled up 14 bags and still have a little bit left. Which should be enough to amend the last couple of bags that I already have in place that just need amending. So it turns out I had just the amount that apparently I needed to have. Sorry if the wind is coming through. It's been windy all afternoon here and I don't know why. So I'm just gonna go with, I've got the exact amount of bags that I was supposed to have for whatever reason I was supposed to have them. We'll just go with that. So I need to move a few of these bags in this row here. Obviously the peas stay because they're already attached to that trellis. But I've got these 4 spots here. 2 of them need to come out. The other 2 just need to be amended. So there's 14, which leaves me 2 additional bags, which means technically I've got 16, 17 if you count the basil bag. I actually have more bags than I needed. All right, well, let's get to moving stuff around and get these all situated. I'm just going to stop counting at this point because I obviously don't know what I'm doing. So with amending bags and putting bags together, I ended up with 18. I've got 18 bags ready to go. I've got 15 that I can now use to plant all of my tomatoes. I've got 3 additional ones that I can transplant my zucchini, all of it. I have exactly what I need. My counting skill sucks, and whatever's got in my hand to create this knows what's needed better than I do. So let's get to transplanting. All right, so here's what we're gonna do as far as transplanting. Now you can see that these are pretty tall here, and we want to plant these really deep, so this is actually good. So what I'm gonna do, these are all the Roma tomatoes. I'm gonna plant these first, and I'm gonna prune off all of these bottom branches. I'm just going to pinch them right off. And then of course as I'm planting them, if any of them happen to have any little suckers, which is basically just new growth that happens in between the main stalk and a branch, it'll happen right in that little armpit. You just pinch those off as well. So I'm going to start doing that and getting these transplanted. Now when separating these, like for example this one right here has 2. Matter of fact, the next one actually has 4 growing in it. So I'm just kind of tearing these apart. You can be gentle with it. I mean, you don't want to hurt the plant, but you can be a little rough with it. You just pull them apart just like that, and it'll be just fine. They may shock a little bit, and that's okay. And then what I was talking about as far as the branches, so I'm going to prune this one off here. Make sure to get a good clean pinch too. What you don't want is sometimes if you pinch it like that, which is why it's best to use like small scissors or some pruning shears, you'll kind of get a piece of the skin and it'll peel down. Now that has potential to actually hurt the plant. So try to get a good clean pinch if you're pinching it. Otherwise use scissors or pruning shears or anything to get a good clean cut. And then I'm just gonna pinch it off. and then I'm going to bury this up to about here. Now later on, I will probably pinch these off too as it grows, but that's just part of your pruning process. You just dig a deep, deep hole. Careful not to get too tangled up in your plant there, and then you just bury it. Just like that. All right, so this whole row here is now Roma tomatoes. So I do have one tag here, just put it in the middle here. I'm probably going to make more tags just so that I know. Obviously, I can always come back to this video and see what I planted as well. So let's start on the other end now. And that's it for the Roma tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and make tags. I already have the one, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tags. And that's just so I know what it is down the road without having to come back to the video. And then I'll get back to the other tomatoes. So 18 bags, 30 tomato plants, 4 zucchini plants, and a long day later, and we're pretty much done for the day. So this whole deal today took about 5 hours. I didn't do an initial water just yet on all those. They are shocking pretty hard, so I'm a little concerned. But my automatic system that I have set up at the moment going to go off in about an hour. So that'll get everything in this garden, including the transplants, good and watered. So I'm not too concerned with that. We'll keep an eye on them over the course of the next week. I figure by tomorrow evening, the ones that are going to make it are going to be looking much better. By next weekend, we'll know if they all survive or not. I'm hoping they do. With all the work we just put in today. But, you know, you never know. With that being said, thank you for hanging out with me today and coming along as we get more stuff transplanted. This is going to be a heck of a garden this year, I think. So, again, thank you for everyone who subscribed. If you're just now subscribing, thank you. That is tremendous in helping this channel grow. And obviously, if you want to see more content, if you want to follow us as we continue along this journey of learning how to garden and other skill sets that we're trying to learn to become homesteaders, make sure to give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and that notification bell. That way you're actually notified when we put up a new video. Again, thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next one.